First of all, shout out to Ethan Klein. Happy birthday, Cancer King. How old are you turning? Let's see, Ethan Klein. Oh my, 38. Wow. Anyway, I thought it would be a fun little journey to take a trip down memory lane and see how you ended up with a niece named Malibu Barbie. Also, disclaimer, obviously it's impossible to recap like every single conversation that Ethan and Trisha had, so it's just going to be my favorite moments. So yes, this is a biased recap. But before we really get started, I'd love to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Ana Luisa. You may have noticed this necklace that I'm wearing. So this one's kind of a like 2-for-1 deal. It looks like 2 separate necklaces, but it's actually one. You get double the trouble. I also got 2 other necklaces that came in these really cute baggies. So this one, I don't know if you could see, is 2 like rings intertwining. Maybe it symbolizes how Trisha and Ethan will always be intertwined, you know, through frenemies. And I mean, they are in-laws. Their children are biologically cousins, so you know, they'll always have that, I guess. And then lastly, I have this like cute butterfly moment. Maybe it symbolizes Trisha's metamorphosis through frenemies. It was pretty exciting to see her like grow and change throughout the podcast. I really love all these pieces because they're simple yet very elegant. Do y'all have anything from Ana Luisa already? If you do, let me know. If you don't, I very much recommend them because they have high quality jewelry pieces at affordable prices. They're also long lasting. 100% of their pieces are strength and humidity tested, and they're tarnish resistant. Another plus is that they're carbon neutral, which means they offset 100% of their carbon footprint. They offer free and fast US shipping. Their products are backed by a 2-year warranty, and if you're not totally satisfied, they'll send you a replacement or reimbursement with no questions asked. Like I said, I really love their jewelry, very stylish. They go with anything. There is a link in the description box down below so that you can check out Ana Luisa. And if you use my code TODHunter20, you'll get 20% off your purchase. Thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. Now let's get to frenemies. So some of y'all may know what frenemies is, others may not. It was really popping off on TikTok when it was coming out. That's definitely how my frenemies phase started. So for those of you not in the know, it's a podcast featuring Ethan Klein and Trisha Paytas. But the funny thing was, when I first started seeing clips of the podcast on TikTok, I had no idea who Ethan was. So I started watching the podcast and I had a vague idea of who Trisha was. So in my mind, it was Trisha Paytas and some random dude bickering for 2 hours straight. And guess what? I ate that shit up. This whole frenemies project was very ambitious given Trisha's history. Ethan wanted 2 big personalities for a podcast, and he had Trisha in mind because she had done some projects with him, one of which being The Bachelorette on his channel, so he knew that they already had some good chemistry. Trisha, however, is known for her breakdowns and getting into drama, so there was risks, but Ethan knew that going into it. The thing is though, one of the contestants on Trisha's Bachelorette that I mentioned earlier was Moses, aka Ethan's brother-in-law, and the 2 ended up hooking up after The Bachelorette, and this surprised everybody. So during the first episode, Ethan was like, Trisha, how the fuck did this happen? Like, Moses low-key entered The Bachelorette as a joke and now y'all are full-on dating. However, Trisha also thought it would be funny to get with Moses as a sort of hit it and quit it type of deal because she had already agreed to the podcast, and so she thought it would be like a fun little anecdote to tell. Interesting start to a relationship, but hey, whatever works, I guess. Their relationship progressed really quickly. They met during quarantine, but they're already low-key living together, planning on getting married, planning on getting a house. And this is kind of scandalous because Moses and Ela, aka Ethan's wife, their mother doesn't know about the relationship yet, so their whole family in Israel don't know about this relationship yet. And to make matters worse, so I think that the culture in Israel is a little bit more conservative, and Trisha is very open about being a porn star online. And so with that in mind, and the fact that this whole relationship is progressing very quickly, you can see how that might cause some family tension. Anyway, Ethan starts to have a mental breakdown because he's thinking about, oh my god, Trisha might become my sister-in-law, she's gonna be at my family's Rosh Hashanah. Also, I should probably mention that Trisha has this borderline weird, you know, scratch that, it's over the border. It's just very odd. She has this fascination with Jewish people, and I know that it is, you know, like a love for the culture, but it's concerning because she kind of fetishizes Moses for being Jewish, and she tries to like adopt the culture, but she's not Jewish. She always talked about converting, and I'm not sure if she successfully did that, but you know, maybe she did, maybe she didn't, I don't know, look it up. But anyway, Trisha and Moses's relationship went through its fair share of ups and downs during this short amount of time. They went through multiple breakups. Trisha went through Moses's DMs and accused him of talking to young girls. There was a time where Trisha got physical with Moses in a fight. I think she was also worried about him applying as a joke on The Bachelorette, even though she was going to hit it and quit it anyway. So Trisha ended up going to Ethan's family's Rosh Hashanah, and it was a pretty good time, but she showed up in an Israeli uniform, you know, which is slightly odd. She said she had a good time, but she thought it was going to be more of a game night family event, and it was definitely not. From time to time, Trisha talks about these visions or manifestations that she has, and she had one twice nice, actually, about Ethan driving off of a bridge, which caused her some unrest. Then we got this famous TikTok clip that actually introduced me to the show in the first place.
Who the fuck's gonna pay me to be on OnlyFans?
A lot of people. Do you watch?
You know, you do that.
Wait, what?
When you end a sentence, you go,
I literally have no idea what you're talking about.
You go, a lot of people,
I definitely
You did that right then. Like,
no, definitely not.
Then for the first time during the second episode, Trisha complains for the first time about not getting a cut of the Frenemies highlights and kind of expressing her interest in doing a Teddy Fresh collab. These two things will come up as a point of contention in the future, but y'all don't need to worry about that yet. So I think what ended up happening is that Trisha and Moses posted about their relationship online, and that's how Elon and Moses' family in Israel found out about their relationship. And yes, they were in fact shocked about the relationship and the fact that Trisha is a porn star. I'm pretty sure that, you know, Moses' lack of communication is also a point of contention throughout this whole series. Anyway, then they start talking about who their least favorite YouTuber is. Trisha says hers is Gabby Hanna, and Ethan says his is Keemstar, which leads to kind of an ironic clip about how Ethan low-key predicted the future.
I'm sure you'll be friends with Keemstar in a month from now.
Absolutely
Being
not.
like,
But then he says this, which kind of cancels out his future predicting abilities.
It will come in costume, so don't be like shocked I'm coming in costume.
no, it's gonna be fun.
Okay.
I'm genuinely excited.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go, I'll just warn you right now, I'm not gonna go in as hard as you do.
Then they take a minute to talk about their sexual preferences.
I mean, I guess I haven't analyzed it too deeply, but like, yeah, I guess I probably do have a preference for people who aren't obese.
So we've got the first dress up, Elle Woods versus James Charles. The whole episode, Trisha is low-key enthralled with how good Ethan looks because she's not used to seeing him in glam, I guess, like her, which leads to this clip.
You cannot imagine a world where people don't want to be you or be in you.
It's not, there's not a world that exists like that. Like, I swear on my life, like, everybody wants to, like, be me or be in me. Always. You look so pretty right now. It's insane.
So, here, you want to...
Then they play Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, which is actually one of my favorite episodes because Ethan gets absolutely demolished in the English category, and he is, in fact, an English major. He majored in English in college. Let me give you a little list of the things that he got wrong. He said that there are 23 letters in the English alphabet, said that pronouns should be capitalized instead of proper nouns, couldn't come up with the comparative and superlative forms of the word big, said that the main series of events within a story is the climax, didn't know that truthfully is an adverb, didn't know what a murder of crows was, didn't know who wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, and didn't know the name for ellipses. That's almost the entire fucking category, which is pretty impressive. In the history category, Trisha found out that the Holocaust exists.
I low-key got really sad about the Holocaust this weekend. Moses explained to me what actually happened, and I, like, started crying.
You just found out about the Holocaust?
I had no idea that they, like, tricked them into going into showers and, like, killed millions of them that way. And then he was, like, telling me, I'm like, well, what did Hitler do? That was so bad.
Oh my God.
And then she gave some insightful commentary on Rosa Parks.
Ethan, what is Rosa Parks most famous for?
She was a civil rights activist who refused to sit in the back of the bus. We will overcome.
That is correct.
Ironic, because the cool kids sat in the back of the bus when I went to school. Isn't that funny?
It is funny.
Yeah.
Trisha got a question about hieroglyphics right, even though she only recently found out that Egypt is a real place. She also tried to use Hamilton lyrics to find out who wrote the national anthem, and incorrectly concluded that it was Betsy Ross. Then they move on to the science category, and Ethan has to inform Trisha what gravity is.
Can we just also say we don't actually need gravity? But that's a different thing.
What
Like,
do you mean by
I
that?
saw someone do this. Was this a TikTok? We were watching something where someone's like, we don't actually need gravity. We were watching this with me. Like, we actually don't need it.
What do you mean that we don't need gravity?
What if it was never invented?
But like, what do you mean?
The moon doesn't have gravity.
It does. All bodies, all celestial, all bodies,
All
you have
mass.
gravity.
Anything with
In
mass
fact,
has gravity.
in fact, some would say you have a sizable amount of gravity.
What's that?
Then she gets a question about the layers of the earth.
The Earth has 4 layers, the thickest of which is the mantle. What's the thinnest layer of the Earth called?
The foreskin.
The thinnest layer of the earth?
Correct.
Oh, thank you. I got a point.
Sorry?
No, wait, what?
Now it's geography time. Ethan said that the pyramids of Giza are located in Mexico. Overall, Trisha ended up losing because she's pretty weak in the geography, history, science department. So she sent Ethan $1,500, which is a little bit more than they agreed, so Ethan could get laid. Their next costumes are Jennifer from Jennifer's Body and Uncle Fester. Ethan went really hardcore on this one because he shaved his eyebrows and head. He also announced that he made a candle that smells like his butthole. Trisha tried to watch Schindler's List for educational purposes, but couldn't finish finish it because it was too sad. She couldn't finish eating her mac and cheese, and the movie is in fact in black and white. They started talking about some drama. There was the Chris D'Elia scandal where he was talking to underage girls. Anthony Padilla and his girlfriend Mikey were beefing with Trisha about like mental health concerns. I think that they thought that Trisha was faking some of the mental health concerns that she would bring up in her videos, but I think she was genuinely just confused. Then in this episode, this was the first time that Trisha mentioned David.
Everyone else should be held accountable, even David Dobrik, who I like, whatever. I don't really like him, but he should be held accountable, not canceled.
Okay, whatever. I'm not gonna.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna touch David Dobrik. I'll get fucking
Nobody
buried
cares
alive.
about it. He literally doesn't even like post anymore, but YouTube's dead.
I actually like David. I met him once. He was really nice.
And I do not think that Ethan will hold that opinion for long. Then they start talking about how Trisha had some toilet paper stuck in her butthole, and they saw that in a video that she posted for her OnlyFans.
Some kinks should be shamed.
Then they started getting into a conversation about how Trisha might not be ready for the commitments of a child because she's kind of crazy, and Ethan said that, which triggered her a bit, and so she fired back with, oh, like you used to do pills. And this surprised Ethan, and so he was like, wow, you just weaponized something that I told you in private. And so they started to full on argue, and then at the height of their argument, at the climax, if you will, Ethan, he asks her who won World War II, and she was like, nope, I'm quitting this podcast. She says that Ethan is the person that she hates most in this world, and that he and Jack's films deserve each other. However, she's not gone for long. When the next podcast episode rolls around, she is back as the Riddler. Ethan was Jeffree Star. She said that if she didn't have a costume plan, she probably would have quit forever. They talk about some Ace family drama briefly, and how Austin McBroom is a douche and their whole family scams people.
In reality, like, you guys got scammed.
Ethan mentions how he doesn't know what squirt juice is and the science behind it is dubious at best. Then Trisha shows Ethan a text message from someone who called her, and I quote, a fat piggy bitch. Then Dr. Drew came in, and let me just say with peace and love that I'm not the biggest Dr. Drew fan. He just gives me like kind of weird vibes. He seems to, I mean, I don't know if this is like his bit, but he seems to incite more conflict than he does fix it. But anyway, Trisha and Ethan have a good conversation about setting boundaries, and Ethan gained some insight into Trisha's blackouts. Turns out they really needed to dive into their backstories of how they first met, because Trisha held some resentment about the time that Ethan made a video about her. He included her in a video of photos versus reality. He was bashing people for like posting really edited fake pictures online while looking like, you know, not like that in real life. And Ethan did in fact say that Trisha looked like she washed up on the shore, but he did apologize for that. Then it was voting season, and Ethan tried to educate Trisha on some topical issues.
Climate change.
Climate change? Oh boy. You don't know what climate change is? Man-made climate change? Carbon in the air?
Carbon what? Monoxide or dioxide?
Turns out Trisha only voted for Biden for 2 reasons. 1, because of a TikTok trend, and 2, Hamilton.
You know why I vote for Joe Biden?
Because of Michael Keaton?
No, he quoted Hamilton.
Oh,
Did you see that? in the
done and
debate?
done.
We hold
No.
these truths to be self-evident that all men are created
Oh,
equal.
But you know what? Actually disregard what I just said, because actually Trisha only does things for one reason only.
Everything I do is for gay people. I couldn't care less about straight people. I just do everything for the gays.
Then they decided to do a cheese mukbang, but the thing is that like the cheese fountain broke. It was like spewing chunks of cheese everywhere.
You know what milk is?
Bring in the milk. Bring in the milk.
It's from a cow.
Milk's
have
from a cow?
water.
Wait, did you say milk's from a cow?
Yeah.
So tell me about why you said that.
Also, Trisha and Moses, they were going through a little bit of trouble in paradise, so Ethan tried to hold some sort of intervention. He wanted to get to the bottom of the problem and save their relationship, and it turns out, that sort of worked. It really came down to a matter of trust. Then Ethan correctly predicted the frenemies' downfall.
Would
Do
it
I
be
make
funny
merch?
if like,
I'm just kidding.
and so we order a bunch of frenemies hoodies, they're bomb as fuck, and then in 3 months the show gets canceled. Would people still buy it in 8 months from now?
That's iconic. Yeah.
Frenemies hoodie. We haven't had a show in 5 months.
Now begins the war between Trisha Paytas and Dixie D'Amelio. This all started when an episode of the D'Amelio reality show came out. They were doing this bit where the chef would serve Dixie and Charlie these snails to gross them out, and Dixie made this like whole fuss. She ended up throwing up. And so this came off as them acting really spoiled. And also in this episode, Charlie like made a comment saying how she wanted to hit 100 million like a year after hitting 1 million, and that rubbed people the wrong way because they're like, be grateful for what you already have. And Trisha and Dixie were beefing for a little bit. Trisha and Charlie were beefing for a little bit, but it wasn't anything serious until James Charles entered the mix, because he just decided to insert himself as Charlie's mentor, and that got Trisha really riled up. But anyway, Trisha was mainly beefing with Dixie because she feels that Dixie needs to be humbled. Then Trisha and Ethan do yoga with goats.
Goats
Are they attracted to blood like sharks? They're vegan.
And then on the way home, they had a fun little carpool karaoke moment and did some sightseeing.
Oh, people are just.
But I will gladly join the fight.
And I will gladly join. This is horrible. I hate it.
Jew! Look at the giant dreidel!
Trisha, you can't just scream Jew.
Trisha shared this story about how she was held for ransom in Mexico and held at gunpoint multiple times in her life. Also, she tans so much and has these different hairstyles that makes it borderline blackfishing. Then on this fateful day, Trisha recommends that the crew order the Pizza Hut's triple treat box. They did a segment where they tried weird celebrity beauty products, but then they started having a conversation. And during this conversation, Ethan made a comment about how Hila doesn't want Trisha talking about her on the podcast. And he was like, oh, like, let's cut that part out. Like, Hila doesn't want you mentioning her. And this really triggered Trisha because she took it as a personal attack. She was like, does Hila think that she's too good for the podcast or something? Trisha called Hila all these nasty comments and then, you know, made jabs at Ethan and Hila's parenting because she thought that this was a personal attack on her by Hila. But in reality, what Ethan failed to explain in the moment or, you know, beforehand off camera is that Hila didn't want Trisha making comments about Moses' relationship to his family because it was causing like real family issues outside of the podcast. And Hila's real beef was actually not with Trisha, but with Moses. She left in a tizzy, no triple treat box for her, but just like a boomerang, she came back around just in time for Dr. Drew to intervene. Trisha and Ethan both took the narcissistic personality test and also the dark triad test, which tests for psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and narcissism. Ethan got a 7 out of 40 for narcissism, where the national average is 15, and Trisha got a 30, and the highest they've seen was a 34 out of 40. For the dark triad, Trisha was higher than Ethan in all categories, but both of them were lower than what would be considered a high score. Then there was another correct prediction about the fate of frenemies.
So the problem is that Trisha really has issues with abandonment, and when you go down that path, it's very evocative for her.
I will not abandon you.
And what will happen is she will abandon you before you have a chance to abandon her.
And Trisha got Ethan a PS5 for Hanukkah. Then at the end of the episode, Trisha literally pissed herself. Now it's a new year and Trisha and Ethan are hosting the Steamies. Over the holiday break, Trisha and Moses got engaged, so that was wild. And now here I'm going to recap the 2021 Steamy winners. The biggest Cove idiot was Jake Paul, the biggest Cloud Goblin was James Charles, the biggest douchebag was Keemstar, the biggest mean girl was Tati, the worst influencer song was One Day by Dixie D'Amelio, the worst cancellation was Shane Dawson's, the worst apology was Jeffree Star's, the biggest Uno reverse card was Micah's adoption, don't know how to pronounce, the spiciest drama was Tati versus Jeffree, the biggest fake friendship was James Charles and literally anyone else, the biggest account ban of the year was Leafy, and the most dramatic creator was Trisha. Insider accused Ethan for exploiting Trisha on Frenemies, even though he's literally walking on eggshells to avoid Trisha, like breaking down and having a meltdown. Then there was an episode that got deleted because Trisha doxed this guy who allegedly SA'd her, but there was no record of him being criminally charged for this, like she said. Trisha tried to send subliminal messages to the crew to get her like the pink frosted cookies and do a grilled cheese episode. Then the crew went out and bought those things for her, which was really sweet. Trisha cosplayed as a Domino's worker and then got into some drama with Hair by Jay and Jeffree Star. Hair by Jay was saying some really nasty things about her, kind of for no reason. Then at the end of this episode, they did some trivia where Trisha did in fact win and she did in fact piss herself yet again. Trisha makes Ethan her famous peanut butter grilled cheese. She's now full on beefing with her ex-BFF Shane and his partner Ryland. I don't know if Ryland and Shane are married yet. I feel like they've been engaged for a while now, but I could, you know, I don't know where they're at. Then they played some pop culture trivia, which Trisha won. I also forgot to mention this thing where Trisha asks for all of these celebrity guests to be on the podcast and Ethan says yes without hesitation every time. But I was going to make a list of every single person she asked for and I forgot. So if anyone out there has done that and wants to share the list, feel free to do so. Like in the comments maybe, I don't know. There was another correct prediction about the Frenemies merch drop.
It's gonna be crazy if like we get in a huge fight and then we have all this clothes.
But it'd be like limited edition, you know what I mean? Like people would be like, oh, remember that time when Frenemies like was a thing?
It's true. I think
it'd be like a collector's item.
People will still buy it like rest in peace Frenemies. The rest in peace Frenemies drop.
They had a cake decorating competition to see like who could do it better. Trisha was doing this Birkin bag and Ethan was doing this Yorkie dog. In the video, Trisha won, but my vote goes to Ethan. Also, this is probably one of my favorite moments in history. You know, it was about a very unfortunate circumstance, but nevertheless, it was really funny just about how embarrassing it was. Here's the clip.
Charlie D'Amelio, she's like, I'm looking through the hashtag here for Charlie. This happened today. And oh my goodness, y'all are so sweet to me. I have no idea how much your kind words warm my heart. And it was for actually Charlie XCX her producer passed away, so everyone's like here for Charlie, but she thought it was for her, and she was like thanking everybody, but it was like her producer just passed away, and it was not Charlie D'Amelio.
They played the newlywed game. Trisha and Moses ended up winning. Some things we learned during this game was that Moses would go around blowing out other people's candles because he just didn't like the smell of it. Ethan thinks that his favorite thing about himself is his sense of humor. Ela thinks that it is his hair. And Ethan said that if he wasn't doing YouTube, he would be a physicist, and Ela said that he would be a comedy writer, but not a very good one. Then this is where the David/Vlog Squad downfall all starts, because they start talking about the incident where one of the Vlog Squad members, Seth, was SA'd by Trisha's ex-boyfriend Jason, and this was all enabled and set up by David for one of his vlogs. However, this, incident was extremely damaging to Seth, not only emotionally and mentally, but also he had to move out of the state because of this. Later, it came out that this was in fact racially motivated. David was constantly doing things to make members of his Vlog Squad feel really uncomfortable. He would include clips that other members would ask David to take out. He waited in the bathroom while Trisha and Jason did the deed. He enabled the whole SA incident with Dirty Dom that we'll talk about later. Also, this is so off topic, but during this episode, Trisha made a comment while they were eating these gay burgers that I could low-key really relate to.
He looked a little bit like an elf.
Right.
But I love elves. Like Bernard the elf from the Santa Claus is one of my favorite elves.
It's at this point, halfway through the Frenemies, era, that I could tell that they were really becoming besties. It was a really sweet thing to see. Ethan went over to Trisha's house over the weekend. The vibes are really nice, and you can tell that Ethan kind of is more aware of where the line is in terms of the banter with Trisha. There's a common theme throughout the show where Trisha, she really loves Adam Sandler, and she's been buying these Adam Sandler clothes off of eBay, of stuff that he probably wore during the films, but there's no way to authenticate this. So she is probably getting scammed.
Yeah, do you have any proof this actually belonged to him?
It smells a little bit.
They talked a bit about how Bryce Hall is the douchebag of the month. He peed off of a balcony. He ended up doxing someone. Then they had a fitness competition. Trisha killed him on the flexibility, planks, sit-ups, and wall sit. Ethan got push-ups, running, basketball, and arm wrestle. I honestly felt that the balance competition and jump rope were more or less a tie, and nobody could do anything close to a pull-up or flexed arm hang. Actually, there was zero flexing going on. It was literally just an arm hang. And the best part was that since Trisha held a plank for a full minute and Ethan didn't think that she was capable of doing that, he bought a black Rolls Royce. So the whole David Dobrik thing is still going on. More and more incriminating clips are coming out about them, about the whole Seth incident. James Charles is now beginning to be busted for sexting minors. One thing that I really liked about this podcast is how transparent they were. I appreciate how Ethan tries to talk about drama in a more or less objective light. They're very open about their mental health issues, but I especially am grateful for how open they are about their struggles with eating and being fat. I feel like this is the first time I've heard anybody that I watch on a regular basis talk about it. And it might be because the majority of the influencers that I watch for whatever reason are skinny. When Ethan was talking about how annoyed he was at himself for not being able to stop eating so much, and how it's like an addiction that you can't hide because everybody can see the shape of your body, and you can't avoid it either because you have to eat literally every day in order to survive. I was like, damn. You know what? You're absolutely fucking right. Then there was this Jewish trivia episode. Spoiler alert, Ethan won by a landslide, which is good considering that Trisha wasn't even aware of what the Holocaust was and thought that Anne Frank was still alive. But this episode had so many of my favorite clips, so I'm just gonna play them all right now.
He has a 1 though. It's pretty funny. It's pretty epic. Okay,
you look like
moving on.
Goldilocks and the Three Bears had a baby.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, the thing about, say that again? I think I missed something. How would Ryland's cousin know Shane fucked this guy?
I know my cousin fucked his sister.
Your cousin fucked his sister?
Yeah. And had a baby.
But that's, so, okay.
And it looked like the
interesting.
baby from Deliverance.
Who? Can I get a glizzy, please, out here?
No more glizzies for Ethan.
Glizzy?
No glizzies.
Glizzy?
You're being denied. Put the glizzy clipper down.
Can I get a glizzy back here,
Yeah,
please?
I don't know. Okay, let me ask you another apology. Noah,
Go ahead.
Dixie, and the Jews that spoke
You're going to
Yiddish.
clump the Jews in with Noah and Dixie?
Do they not deserve the same amount of respect?
10 to 6.
Not bad for a goy.
Huh?
Not bad for a goy.
A goy?
A non-Jew.
I'm a they. As a goy girl.
So then not only was this Seth Jason SA incident being brought to light, there was an incident where 2 members of the Vlog Squad, allegedly Jeff and Todd, were sent to the store to buy alcohol to loosen up these 20 to 21-year-old girls to have sex with this other guy from the vlog squad, Dirty Dom, for one of David's vlogs. A reporter from Insider named Kat was writing the story, and I think Trisha brought this up because David's lawyer sent a letter to Insider about the unreliability of Trisha as a source, and then they sent that letter to Trisha for a response. Trisha gave her insight into that night since she was there when David told Jeff and Todd to get the alcohol, but she left before the alcohol even arrived. Then they had a cooking competition. Trisha won round 1 with her buttered noodles, Ethan won round 2 with his mashed potatoes, Trisha won round 3 with her scrambled eggs, and she won round 4 with her filet mignon, which is really embarrassing for Ethan because she had claimed that she had never cooked a steak before in her life. Also, Mac DeMarco was a judge for this segment, which is pretty cool. Also, James Charles is still interacting with minors, in case you forgot.
And then the other thing is that like 2 days afterwards, he collabed with a 16-year-old boy named Jimmy Innit.
Then there was this emergency episode because the Insider article about the Dirty Dom situation was published, and Jeff Wittick made a response video bashing Trisha and Kat because he was like, Trisha is such an unreliable source, and like, Kat, how could you do this? Go send hate to her. So they brought Jeff on the podcast to talk about the article, and turns out Jeff didn't even read the article, and yet he made this whole big response video. And he continued to ignore the fact that it was not Trisha just saying that he and Todd were the ones to go get the alcohol. It was also the girls who were SA'd, who were there that night, who were also saying that Jeff and Todd were the ones who were sent to get the alcohol. Jeff's story was also super weird. It kept changing like every 5 minutes. He claims neither him or Todd bought any alcohol, but Todd loves whiskey. And he also said that everybody was there like with the girls, but then everybody left except the girls, and then everybody came back. It was just like, what? The reason that Jeff was so upset at Trisha could have been from this Starbucks incident where Trisha and Jeff ended up going to the same Starbucks, but Jeff left before he got his food and everything because he didn't want to have a run with Trisha. But during this whole like interaction with Jeff, he did give Trisha an apology. He gave Kat a sort of apology. But the weird thing is that Jeff continues to protect David through all of this, which is kind of weird. The next day, they do their normal episode recapping the whole thing. Trisha shows Ethan her new I Love You Moses music video, and Ethan shows Trisha his Vape Nation video, and this is where I realized, holy fuck, Ethan is the Vape Nation guy. I had been watching 27 episodes of this shit, and not once did I ever come to that realization. I kid you not, I had to sit in silence for like 5 minutes straight, just digesting that fact. Because it really shook me to my core, almost as much as the realization that Drew Gooden is the Road Work Ahead guy, and it's not like these things aren't common knowledge, I just don't know what's going on the majority of the time. Also, as per most of these episodes, they consider getting Domino's.
I wish I had a Domino's pizza.
Should we?
Kinda. Did you eat this morning?
I just had some oatmeal, like nothing serious.
I just had a bagel with peanut butter and bananas and a quesadilla.
Right.
But it's an appetizer?
And there is this whole Domino curse thing. Every time they order Domino's, something bad seems to happen. Like one time Ethan got swatted. One time the footage was lost. It caused them to have like a fight. Actually, I guess it's not specifically Domino's, it's just ordering pizza in general. They did another emergency live episode because David made an apology video for the whole Dirty Dom SA incident. He apologized for the power dynamic that enabled like him to set up a situation where this SA was possible. But this seemed disingenuous because this happened after David lost all of his sponsors. He never once mentioned the Seth SA incident. He also claimed that he had been cutting ties with Dom for a while now, but that is proven to not be true. At this point, Jeff had taken down the response video bashing Trisha and Kat, which is good because, you know, that's no longer up there considering he never read the article. Trisha ended up apologizing to Philip DeFranco.
Should I apologize to him or no? We're done.
For what?
For calling him fat. I feel bad.
All right, go ahead. Make your
Okay.
apology.
I do feel bad. Philip, I held
Where's your
animosity
camera?
towards you because of interactions with your wife in 2014 who called me a whore. I held that against you. I'm changed. I'm better. I'm not miserable and depressed anymore. You're not fat. If anything, you're skinnier than me. So I am a big fat cow and you're a skinny legend. And I'm very, very sorry. And I'm glad that you are covering David more and it's not just a boys club. And I do not have an apology to Keemstar other than we're cool. Please don't come for me.
What?
Trisha had Passover dinner at Ethan's, truly bestie vibes. One of my favorite things ever is when Ethan tries to quote something because every time he absolutely like demolishes, obliterates it. He gets like pretty much every word wrong.
Dan, help me out. What is it? Oh, I got it. I got it. Evil, when, I got it. When the good men stand, evil wins when the good men stand by and say nothing. Google it.
They did the oddly satisfying trend. There was a segment where they were trying to make slime. Trisha ate the glue, and then they started slapping each other with the slime that they made, perhaps a side effect of the glue. Also, fun fact, Trisha can speak Korean.
I can speak Korean. Hana dul setnet asa ahayol gubiyel yashmil hana yol dul yol sat yelnet yasa.
Did you say slut?
No, that's my Korean for my Korean people. If you know, you know.
Ethan had been trying to lose weight for a while, and he even got himself a nice young personal trainer, but he doesn't like him because the trainer is quote-unquote too nice, and he'd rather that the trainer watch him in silence and in horror. Trisha made this Instagram post, which has got to be one of my faves. If you're confused, this is because Trisha is meme challenged. So they were going to do a pizza eating footage, but like I mentioned a little bit earlier, the footage was lost, and Trisha was really annoyed because she was already ahead by one slice, and it had been like at least 30 minutes, so she was already starting to feel full. But they continued the contest anyway, and Ethan ended up winning by one slice. They commented about how Khloe Kardashian, and just like the Kardashians and influencers in general, should be more transparent about the reality of what their body looks like. And this all came to be because Khloe Kardashian scrubbed this picture on the internet that I think her grandma or someone might have posted originally, where she thought that she looked like didn't look good. It was an unflattering photo. But Ethan and Trisha's point was only posting like the Facetune, body-tuned, plastic-bodied version of yourselves on the internet is doing a lot of damage to young people using social media that thinks that that's what their body should look like naturally. Then this girl named Justine Paradise comes out and shares her story about how Jake Paul S.A.'d her. He forced himself upon her orally, and Keemstar had the audacity to say that he doesn't believe that such a scenario could happen because he's a fucking idiot. As many as 15 boys, I think, ended up coming out with allegations against James Charles. 9 of them at the time, I believe, were minors, but that number increased to 11, I think, at one point. James confessed to 2 of them as a result of all of this, and he ended up being dropped by Morphe, and his entire channel was demonetized. It's probably back by now, but, you know, I don't know. Also, Demi Lovato had her followers absolutely obliterate this frozen yogurt shop because it sold sugar-free candy, and it was triggering to Demi Lovato personally. Probably one of the worst things, in my opinion, about David Dobrik is his complete lack of regard for the safety of those around him. And this was evident when he was driving an excavator for one of his like silly little vlogs, and his friend Jeff Wittick was like flinging around, and David ended up accidentally slamming him into the arm of the excavator, and this gave Jeff serious life-threatening injuries. Like, he was incredibly close to dying. But I mean, driving an excavator without a license or anything and putting your friends in extreme danger because of a vlog for the bit to get like, I don't know, an exciting like piece of footage of content, that's so dumb. Then it was Trisha's birthday. They had a fun little birthday celebration. They dressed up as Beetlejuice characters, did a little skit. They also played trivia, and because of the amount of Adam Sandler questions, Trisha won. The whole thing was really sweet. The crew went all out in decorating the set, getting her a cake with her face on it, getting her this really hard to get MCR makeup palette. Then the gang went to Disney for their first vlog, and it was a fun time. They tried all the yummy snacks. On the episode after that, Trisha shared that she was feeling a bit insecure from that vlog because all of the video footage and photos from that day had her feeling really fat. She thought she looked really fat. Ethan also embarrassed himself on the ride back home when he talked to Trisha's mom and sister about the candlestick up the butt incident. Over the weekend, Ethan went to Trisha's birthday party and sang karaoke and threw his hat into the crowd and hit an unsuspecting man. It was a good time. Trisha gave Ethan these sick FRENEMIES custom Nike shoes, and then she went on to talk about cows.
Why would you fist a cow? What do you mean?
Take out the stuff.
What are you talking about?
That's how you take the poop out of a cow.
Why are you taking poop out of a cow?
I don't know. I've seen people do it though. They put their arm all the way up there and they take it out.
Why? What videos
Or
are you
maybe
watching?
that's how they give birth. Someone casts a stick up there and they
Yeah,
take the baby
That
out.
makes sense. Why would you take poop out of a cow's butt?
I don't know.
Triller sued Ethan for showing footage of their boxing match.
Yo, Triller, my thing's flipped. My camera's like flipped around right now, but look. I'm trying to... it's so awkward.
And I'm pretty sure like later on down the road, Ethan ended up winning. So that is a very much slay. Here's some trivia for you. Trisha fucked Robin Williams at one point. The FaZe Blanks podcast accused Ethan and Trisha of being internet bullies, specifically in regard to the Charli D'Amelio drama, which is rich coming from them because one of the guys, Mike, when he was breaking up with his girlfriend, he sent her a list of pros and cons about her, which was mostly insults. Trisha absolutely obliterated the recap of the Dear Evan Hansen drama. She was trying to explain that people were mad that Ben Platt was cast in the live-action movie Dear Evan Hansen. He was the original Broadway actor for Evan Evan Hansen, but he's very old. And she was trying to explain that the people wanted Jordan Fisher, who was closer to Evan Hansen's age, but that's not the case. She picked the wrong actor. Everybody was confused. The whole thing was in shambles. They also played the meme game, which led to the production of one of my favorite memes to this day, I'm So Angry.
Here's Trisha's meme.
Wow. Oh my God.
I'm so angry.
Can I post that? How do I get that? Copy of that. That's so
I'll
cool.
email it to you.
Send me.
Just
That's
say
so
new
cool.
frenemies.
Yeah, that's cute.
Ethan won this meme game, by the way, and Trisha gave him $4 as a prize. Trisha gave an apology for her wrongdoings.
Can I also make a clarification and a disclaimer for the rest of my life? Like anything I say about politics, I'm ignorant. Don't listen
For
to me.
the rest of your life?
Yeah, I'm so stupid.
And got the voices in her head to go away.
Probably
I think
not.
I told them to stop. One day I was just like, stop. And they stopped.
I wish I could do that to my depression.
For their second vlog, Trisha and Ethan hijacked a Hollywood tour bus. They saw many sights, the Starbucks where Jeff blew Trisha off, Ringo Starr's driveway. They went to Shake Shack, Trisha gave a Lizzie McGuire performance, and AB shared a fun little story.
I had friends in high school that fell out of a bus.
Really?
I mean, I'm holding on. Thank you. I mean, as long as this thing doesn't swing open unexpectedly.
You had friends, plural? You had multiple friends that fell out of buses?
I had one friend and then his best friend at their friend's wedding fell out of the party bus on the highway.
What?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Is he alright?
Are they okay?
No, they're dead. I don't want to kill the buzz, but they're dead.
Holy
You're bringing the mood down, AB. I just was telling him be careful.
Well,
Bro.
Hila shared that she was pregnant with little Brucey. Slay. Trisha called it that he was going to be a boy, but everybody else was thinking girl. This episode was kind of all over the place. They discussed some beef between Trisha and Hank Green. Matthew Perry was being a creep. They got mad at Pringles for making their cans fat phobic. They informed Trisha that gay people were targeted during the Holocaust along with, Jewish people.
Well, they were killing communism, gays, and political dissidents, so it wasn't just it was
How
mostly
could they
Jews.
tell the gays? Because Jews were wearing Star of David, gays were wearing
Pink triangle, right?
really? A triangle?
They had different symbols for.
You don't know. Ethan.
I don't remember the gay symbol, but
Damn. Oh, triangles. Yeah, that makes sense. Tinky Winky had the triangle on his head and everyone said he was gay.
Then they played a superhero game where Trisha had to guess the superhero name and power of a given superhero, which was hilarious.
okay, who's this?
Literally no idea. I mean, I've seen this person.
You don't know who that is?
No, Ant-Man.
Okay, who's this?
Oh. Oh. Is it Boba Fett?
This is Boba Fett.
Now we have this last episode, and I had never seen this episode until I made this video just because I knew it was coming, and the whole episode I was just sitting dreading the eventual downfall that I knew was going to come. And to be honest, the vibes were really good the entire time. Well, they were pretty good the entire time. It seemed like a fairly normal episode, but from the start of the episode, knowing what we know now, it seems clear that Trisha was having a bad day. She was not really in the right mindset from the get-go. She was like, I don't feel like myself. I don't want to be dressed as Debbie from the Addams Family. Like, I don't even know who she is. They did a little sketch about Beetlejuice, and then they talked about Gabby Hanna, who Trisha, from the very beginning of the series said that she was her least favorite YouTuber, so probably didn't help the whole situation. To give you some context, Gabby had lied to people about Trisha having herpes, and then Gabby blamed Trisha for her downfall after the fact, and Gabby seemed to think that Trisha and her were closer than they actually were. Then they were going to do this advice segment, and Trisha started bashing it, saying that it was like lazy, they just do recycled content. And then Ethan was like, why are you getting so angry about this? And why are you being so mean? And then she got mad at him, saying that he was gaslighting her into thinking that she was angry when she was in fact fine. And then Ethan was like, okay, then you're fine, I guess. And that made her really upset. She had to leave the show after that. She was also, mad about the 5% that Ethan was taking for production costs. And so that was the last thing. She never came back to the podcast after that. Apparently, according to Ethan, he had tried to resolve these issues with her privately, but Trisha was making all of these demands that were completely unreasonable. She was saying how she wanted a completely new crew for Frenemies, that she didn't feel comfortable, and Ethan tried to negotiate. He was like, okay, well, you can hire a producer. And then they were planning to go to this new set in downtown LA to film Frenemies for a while now, and Trisha was like, I don't want to do that. She also was really mad about this 5% that Ethan was taking from her in order to cover the production costs, which was completely unreasonable because Ethan and his entire crew did pretty much all of the work for Frenemies, and she just had to show up and be entertaining and go with the flow. And then she also keeps complaining that Ethan never takes her ideas into consideration, which number one isn't true, and number two, she brings these ideas like doing an ice skating thing together, doing all these different activities together, but it's one thing to say an idea and it's another thing to like plan and go through the whole process of actually getting it to work. So anyway, seemingly it seemed like Ethan and Trisha had come to a sort of agreement privately after that podcast episode. He was like, okay, we'll start looking into hiring a new producer, and you know, we'll just see how it goes from there. They were going to film a vlog, but he made the decision to cancel that plan just because the vibes weren't really feeling right. They just had a fight. The crew was upset and hurt about the fact that Trisha wanted to hire a completely new crew and replace them. But the following day, Trisha completely blindsided Ethan by posting a YouTube video saying that she was quitting Frenemies forever. And she was like exposing all of these private DMs, private messages, private things. Before making this recap, I was thinking, man, Frenemies was such a good time. Like, I hope, you know, they work things out and come back eventually. But after this whole thing, I don't wish that anymore. I think that this breakup was for the best. Ethan understands that Trisha is prone to these outbursts and that she has mental health issues, but he's right in that it's not fair for him to constantly cater to her every whim and sacrifice the well-being of himself, the crew, and ultimately the show, just to appease her, keep her happy, keep her from having an outburst. But from the beginning, the show was at risk because this blow-up wasn't just a possibility, it was an inevitability. And the problem, again, is that once Trisha gets triggered, everything privately that they've shared with each other is on the table. In her rage, she might be prone to distorting the truth. For their family's sake and because they're in-laws, I hope that they can at least rebuild a little bit of what their relationship used to be. I know that there's probably a lot behind the scenes that we aren't seeing because it's not our business, but I think there's some hope for them to reconnect as people, not as business partners. Family and business are hard to mix in general, let alone in this situation. But I am really thankful to Ethan, Trisha, and the whole crew for giving us this show. It was a really fun time. Thank you so much again to Ana Luisa for sponsoring this video. You can check them out by going to the link in the description box below, and in the wise words of Ethan Klein,
What's the saying? Don't be sad it's over, just be happy it happened. Is that a thing? I think Shakespeare said that.